How we doing, folks? This is Chris Dessi, CEO of Silverback Social and founder of the Westchester Digital Summit. We're here in our third year at the summit, and we've been blessed to have a very talented gentleman join us last year, and he's back this year, Chris Hansen.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Another great year.
Thank you. So we've known each other now for a year. You're doing some of the most compelling things that we've seen in digital for someone that's coming from traditional media, that's cut his teeth from everything from covering local mayor races all the way up to, global warfare. Right now, you're in the midst of doing some really compelling things, leveraging tools like Kickstarter, Twitter to reach out to your fan base. Tell us about that.
We went out looking to do another Predator investigative series, and it was the question I was getting most on social media: when you're going to do another one? We're going to sign a petition. We hadn't done a new investigation in 4 or 5 years, and while the previous investigations continue to re-air and updated, expanded versions and on the internet, I thought it was time to go back out and do it. The landscape has changed, Chris. You know better than anyone. When we started doing these investigations, we essentially used chat rooms on AOL and Yahoo. Well, today, there are hundreds of ways predators can communicate. So we started having meetings with various production companies, digital especially, because we wanted to initially put this out digitally and allow the consumer to get it on their handheld device if they want to. And we found that the companies we met with wanted a lot of control and a lot of the business end of it. And so what we ultimately decided was, and the folks that represent me at William Morris Endeavor have a whole division doing this, is to go the crowdfunding route.
Sure.
And so we launched it, and we went with Kickstarter, and it's really been an amazing experience just watching to see how it all works and how people get involved at this organic level, whether it's $10 or $10,000.
Sure.
And we've had both,
yeah.
Which is great. And these people are invested in this project. They are essentially producers of Hansen versus Predator.
It's crazy.
And as we head into the final hours of the campaign, it's looking really good.
Absolutely incredible. I feel like it's fascinating that you've sort of flipped the funnel and handed over control really to your fan base, right? The people that were watching the original airing and want to see you on air again. So kudos to you for being able to allow that to happen. I know we had the opportunity to chat with your son, Connor, who's helped out with some of the things that you're doing, which is really exciting. And I think really smart because he's the guy that knows the real digital stuff
he's
that's going on.
He's who I turn to when I need advice on these things.
But you mentioned how you're doing, you're hopping into the modern version of the chat room. You're doing Google Hangouts and things like that. What's that like? I mean, you mentioned, I was like, oh, would you do like a half hour? And you're like, no, man, 90 minutes. Right. Like, what's going on in those conversations?
Well, it's fortunately I love nothing more than the sound of my own voice, so it's not that punishing, at least to me. But no, it's a great way to connect, whether it's a Google Plus Hangout or whether it's doing a Reddit AMA. I mean, you reach so many people with a Reddit AMA. I mean, the first time I did it a few years ago, I was 15 minutes into it, and my son Connor texts me from college and says, "Are you on Reddit right now?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "I've gotten 15 texts from you." That's how you reach these kids, right?
Because they're all listening to it.
And look, we're very fortunate with this particular franchise and with many others I've done. We have everybody from college kids to grandmothers watching it, and grandfathers. So we're very fortunate to have that wide demographic fan base. But you really want to get the kids young. Because if they're going to follow me watching a Predator investigation, they'll also follow me doing, child sex trafficking or exposing something in India or, financial predators or anything else.
Yeah.
We try to follow the same sort of template in terms of using enterprise journalism and in good old-fashioned investigative techniques.
So you just touched on something when you were talking about the sex trafficking, and it dawns on me, and I'm sure it's dawning on anybody that would watch this, it's that you've become so much a part of our cultural vernacular, right? It's the have a seat and the gesturing and the setup in the kitchen has become iconic, frankly. but it may pull away from the really good work that you've done. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think it obviously, it was only 10% of what I had done at the network, but it got 90% of the attention just because it became so iconic. I mean, my boys grew up with a father on television, so it was no big deal. But when South Park did a parody,
that's crazy.
Suddenly I was, I had credibility. I remember I was in San Francisco on assignment, and my agent texts me and says, "You're on South Park." I said, "Well, it's a 3-hour time difference. I can watch it." I said, "How's it going?" He said, "It's pretty funny." And I was about 24 minutes later, "It's taken a dark turn."
That's fantastic.
But I mean, those things air, and you have to accept at some point that you're sort of breaking out of a role as a traditional journalist, and you're doing this new thing that requires from time to time you appear on a podcast or a radio show, or you're parodied in a cartoon, or on Saturday Night Live. I mean, it's just part of what happened here, and so to not take advantage of that and to harness that energy and momentum for this new project is, you'd be silly not to.
What a unique way of approaching it, because I could see a lot of people taking the negative out of it instead of the positive out of it, and I think it's really
you're always going to have people who, from the Poynter Institute or wherever, and I respect the Poynter Institute, I'm not trying to pick a fight there, but, people are lodged into, the four corners of the old rules.
Yeah.
And just like with so many other aspects of life, the explosion of the internet in this digital age, you have to reinterpret some of those rules from time to time. I mean, I'm not talking about being unethical in any way or enticing somebody to do something or doing something that's trashy. I'm just saying you have to rethink the model, and that's what we've tried to do here.
What has been, I'm going to ask you, what's been the most fun out of all of this? Because I will say, there's a sense that we can all feel from you that you're having a blast with this now.
I like it.
You can feel it, right?
It took some time to get this up and running. I've been on the road shooting this new show for Discovery ID called Killer Instinct with Chris Hansen, and that's a really cool investigative crime show, and we're almost done shooting that. That starts in the fall. But this has really been, an intense focus for myself and Andy Russell, my co-executive producer and partner in this. And it takes up the better part of our days. Just by the time you get up in the morning and you do the podcasts and you do this and you do an interview, you tweet all day, you do a video, you do the Reddit AMA, and you see how it all builds into the campaign. We did the Reddit AMA. I'm basically in a crew SUV shooting a story in Seattle. And the guys are, "Come on, we got to get the stand-ups done." I said, "Hang on," and I can't get the thing. So the director comes over and goes, "Here, I'm sitting in the car with the thing on the dashboard, doing.
This is the coolest thing ever, though.
Yeah, and in between all that, trying to get the story done for Discovery ID, and then do a live webcast with my son's journalism ethics and law class. So it's just this crazy. These days are nuts, but it is a lot of fun, and I'm always happiest when I'm busy.
Yeah.
I enjoy time off too, but it's rock and roll. I mean, we're just getting it all done, and it's a little bit unpredictable, and we're working with people, as I said, with agency at William Morris Endeavor, who specialize in this. Who are on the West Coast saying, "Okay, this is how it works." They're out there doing data mining. That who should we be contacting? Who do we tweet? Who do we retweet? What do we do with Periscope? All this technology, and it's invigorating, quite honestly.
Wonderful. Well, listen, we look forward to having you back next year.
Absolutely.
We look forward to seeing all the cool stuff that you do in the coming year by embracing technology. We love having you here.
Well, thank you.
Great job.
Love being here.
Continued success.
All right, Chris.
Thank you.
Same to you.